It was 1982, and I was 12 years old, living in northern Indiana, and the phone rang. And I answered it up. I said, hello, and the lady on the other line, in a panic, said, honey, find your mom. There's been an emergency. Well, you never want to hear that when your dad works at a steel mill. My dad was an electrician at a steel mill, and he was working on this great big electrical panel. He was in there with the screwdriver. His buddy Bill was in there with the flashlight, and that box did not get tagged properly. And so somebody turned it on while they were in there, and boom, it exploded. It caught them both on fire, burned my dad severely. He ended up spending the next several months in the Loyola burn unit. My mom was there by his side trying to keep him alive. And we moved in with my grandparents. I had a younger sister, and my whole life changed. Our whole lives for everybody changed. Now, the good news is that my dad survived, even though he had a bunch of scars on the outside. It turns out we all had a bunch of scars on the inside from going through that traumatic experience. What I did not know at the time is that all of our brains were making meaning out of that situation. All of our brains were saying, what does this mean about us, about others, about the world that we live in? And so your brain is always making meaning out of everything. It's not the situation, it's how you interpret it that affects you. And so your brain makes up beliefs at an unconscious level without your permission and without you even knowing that it's doing it. And then it stores those beliefs, and then it uses those beliefs to make decisions at an unconscious level without you consciously even realizing it for the whole rest of your life, unless you identify and find those beliefs and upgrade them, which is what I ended up doing. I ended up searching for ways to get rid of my anxiety, my fear of not being good enough, always chasing approval and validation, always worrying about if others were going to accept me, always worrying about whether I was going to be okay, or if I was going to make it month to month financially, or if I was going to be cheated on. You know, you bring up insecurities into every area of your life. So I didn't take care of myself physically. I didn't take care of my relationships. I didn't take care of me, because at some level inside, I didn't think that I was worthy of taking care of me. Like I didn't deserve it, because when I was little and I formed those beliefs in my mind, one of the beliefs that I had was I'm not safe. The rug can be yanked out from underneath you at any moment, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so the next belief was, you know, I'm scared all the time, so I must be weak. And I hated myself for feeling weak. And then I tried to compensate by being strong, and that just gets you in a bunch of trouble. And so when you see people who are very arrogant, who are very cocky, who are out there just wanting more power and control, it's because they're trying to make up for these deep wounds and insecurities from their past that they might not even remember. They will just tell you, yeah, my dad was a a-hole or something like that. So what I did was I went to school and I tried to figure out how to change that. And I did the traditional approach that we all do. So I went to school to be a psychotherapist. I went and did 7 years of getting degrees in psychology, because I thought that's where you needed to go to figure yourself out. And I spent 6 figures on training and education. I graduated, and I really didn't know that much more about human behavior. When I look back on it, you know, I didn't know how to get rid of a phobia for people. I didn't know how to help people really break addictions effectively. I didn't know how to help people lose weight or stop smoking or overcome their own fears. We would talk about it because that's what I was taught, a variety of forms of positive thinking, you know. And so I was taught cognitive behavioral therapy and rational emotive behavioral therapy and all the different, you know, talks. Carl Jung, and the other Carl that I forget his name, that started the humanism movement, and all these different, where you basically just sit there and go, How does that feel? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Right? For like 10 years, which that doesn't really change anything. It doesn't get to the unconscious beliefs. So I had a chance encounter where during one of our classes, a hypnotist came in as a guest speaker, asked for a volunteer. I volunteered. I thought, I'll make the class laugh. I'll let get everybody clucking like a chicken. It's going to be fun. And so that's what I did. I volunteered, but I didn't cluck like a chicken. I got more peaceful in that 5 minutes than I ever experienced in my entire life. And I'm like, what is this? I wanted to know what just happened to me, right? How did I suddenly feel this incredible sense of peace inside? And what I found is that with the hypnosis, it allows you to bypass that skeptical, fearful part of your mind that's always worrying. It allows you to connect with your inner wisdom, with your unconscious mind, with the part of you that is the boss. It's the part of you that runs your body, keeps your heart beating, keeps you breathing even when you're sleeping at night. And it is the part of you who stores those beliefs. That's not who, but that stores your beliefs. And so it makes sense to work with that part of you. It controls 80% of what you do. And it allowed me to experience a deep set of peace because in that moment, the hypnotist was telling me that I'm safe. And I never really heard that before. And so my mind accepted that because I wanted it so bad. And it allowed me to have that experience, which then opened me up to a whole new field of possibility. So doing the hypnotherapy, going through the neurolinguistic programming, all of the peak performance strategies that were going on at the time in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And it was really incredible. You know, I was seeing people have incredible breakthroughs rapidly, and it seemed to last through time. So I made it my goal to get as good as doing that as possible. And now it's been 35 years that I've been in that game. And I've helped transform the lives of tens of thousands of people personally, and then millions of people through my videos and programs. And I will tell you that hypnosis is an incredible tool. Hypnotherapy is an incredible tool. It's not just clucking like a chicken or, you know, the stage show things that we, stage shows that we see in Vegas and stuff like that. That's for entertainment. I'm talking about the therapeutic process. And the best part of it is the piece of it called hypnotic regression, because hypnotic regression allows you to go find that deepest fear that we have and upgrade it. And so I got really good at finding those fears and upgrading them, but I didn't think that it was the main part of what I was supposed to do. I just thought it was one of the things that you do, because the most important part was getting people into a very deep, relaxed, magical state of mind where you can tell them whatever you want and suddenly they'll say as you wish and go and do it, because that's what we're taught to believe in movies. There's even a movie right now with Ben Affleck called Hypnotics, which is really goofy. Right? It's not that good of a movie. And but it again suggests that there's people who can just, you know, snap their fingers and all of a sudden you go rob a bank. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But movies love to have that kind of image of hypnosis out there. I also was taught that it's the power of suggestion and the power of affirmations that was really the secret for hypnotherapy. And I found that that's not accurate either. I think that it's a very good add on after you upgrade the beliefs. But if you give yourself a bunch of affirmations before you upgrade your beliefs, it's like throwing a bunch of dirt on weeds. So all of a sudden you cover up the weeds and you don't see them anymore. But what do those weeds do? They go right back up through the dirt. And there you are again. And you're like, why are you here? I've already resolved you. I've been doing affirmations for 2 years, right? And I told myself that I am rich and I am wealthy and I am a millionaire. And then gulp, right? We get that tightness in our chest. And the tightness comes from the belief that we're not worthy of having that kind of wealth. And that's never really going to happen. And we're just fooling ourselves, which then creates all kinds of emotional turmoil inside. So, what I figured out after facilitating almost 16,000 1 hour sessions, it took me a couple of decades to see that many clients. And that doesn't even include the hundreds of group programs where I learned how to influence groups and use the group dynamic to empower people even faster, which is why I love doing groups now, because you can get results so much faster than just doing one-on-one sessions. And so one-on-ones are amazing. And when you're giving all your attention to one person, it really transforms their world, because this one belief away method is way above whatever else is being used right now because of how we facilitate the sessions. And but I love doing the groups because you can feed off of everybody else's energy, and sometimes you learn faster from watching other people make mistakes. It's hard to see our own blind spots, but you can see them in others pretty fast. And so anyway, so I love doing groups, right? I'm teaching my One Belief Away hypnosis certification here in about 30 minutes, and I can't wait to get in there and work with my students again. It's going to be amazing, right? And so let's get back to 3 questions that somebody asked me the other day, and I want to talk about these questions because I get asked them all the time, right? So people say, is your One Belief Away method, is it hypnosis? Because I kind of hope it is. The rah-rah seminars and all the other stuff that is out there isn't really working for me. A lot of people have that experience. I mean, I've walked on fire, I've climbed poles, I've jumped around and screamed and yelled and did primal screams. And I mean, I went to every seminar there was and sweat lodges. And I mean, you name it, I did it. Energy work, spiritual work, past lives, whatever it was, because I was in search of what works and what doesn't. And I approach it with a very skeptical mind, right? Very academic mind. I'm like, prove it. You say this works great, let's prove it, right? You say kinesis is going to be awesome, or kinesthesiology is going to be amazing, prove it. And then I would learn it, and then I would go use it. You say emotional freedom technique or EMDR is going to be great, prove it. And then I would go learn it, and then I would go use it. And I would figure out what works, what didn't. And then I would keep what worked, and then I would add it to a toolbox. And then I had all these awesome tools that did work. And I'm like, all right, now what's the right combination? What's the right combination? And so the right combination was pulling a little bit from my psychology training, a little bit from the hypnotherapy training, pulling a little bit from the neurolinguistic programming. All these different tools, they all have truth in them. And so I was collecting the truth, and the truth is simple and it works consistently for almost everybody, almost every single time, which is why we have like a 95% success rate with just about everything that we've helped people with, which is incredible, because that is not how it is when you go to traditional therapy. Traditional therapy has maybe like a 20% success rate. It's really sad. And that's why people say, I don't know what to do. Put them on an antidepressant. Don't get me started on that. So my one belief away method uses hypnosis concepts. In fact, when you go through my certification, you can be certified as a one belief away hypnotist or as a one belief away coach. Some people love the word hypnosis. I do, just because I've been doing it for 30 years, and I think that it is an absolutely incredible field. It's changed my life. Instead of going through the field of Dr. Tim with a PhD, I ended up getting a PhD in kicking butts and taking names and changing lives and having incredible breakthroughs with so many people who would bring me their whole family, giving hugs and celebrating and crying together. I mean, that was incredible. And I do not think I would have that experience if I just went down the traditional psychology path. So, or social worker path, or any of those paths where, even a psychiatrist, they don't have near the skills or the talents that one of my OBA hypnotists have. They're just pretty much giving people drugs most of the time. There are some in every profession that are extraordinary, of course. So, but on average, the tools that are offered in counseling and therapy are like at kindergarten level compared to the special forces of the one belief away method. So it does use the hypnotherapy, it does use the hypnotic regression, it does use the understanding of your mind and how your mind works, but we pull more of that understanding of how your mind works from NLP, because it's extraordinary, that science that Richard Bandler and John Grinder put together, and the people that they studied with Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson, which Virginia was a very talented family therapist, and Milton Erickson was an incredibly talented, he happened to be a psychiatrist, but he was a very talented hypnotherapist. And so they studied them. And that's how they were able to kind of map out the mind and what happens in your mind and how powerful your brain is and how you can use it to create your life by design. And so it definitely has it in there because I've been so influenced by hypnotherapy over the years. So it's way more effective than the rah-rah concerts and things like that, even though I give mad respect to the people that are at the top of the food chain, like Tony Robbins. I mean, he's done so much for the world and the profession that I'm always going to have love for him. So I also feel that our approach will get you results faster, right? Our approach will get you results a lot faster because of the way that we set it up, the way that the sessions are done, where in session one, we're upgrading your biggest fear. We're getting to the root of the weed and pulling it out there instead of cutting the top off of the weed or throwing dirt over it, which is revolutionizing how people are showing up. And often from the very first session, it changes their life so fast that the other sessions are just for support and reinforcement. Session two, we release people from the emotions that have become toxic because they've been stuck in guilt, anger, rage, resentment, self-pity, all the different, the injustices, right, that we go through. And so we get stuck in that, and this frees you from it emotionally, which is incredible. It helps people so much physically because of it starts to release the inflammation that riddles our body and causes all kinds of problems. So it's pretty amazing. And then every session is powerful and they'll stand alone, but they work together to help build you up in a way that's faster than any other approach that I have found. If there was something better, it'd be a part of this approach, right? Or I wouldn't have developed a new approach. I would have just said, like I did for years, that hypnotherapy is the way to go, until I realized that a lot of what's being taught in the hypnosis world and from the hypnosis schools is outdated and unnecessary. And they're still focusing on doing eye rolls and looking up and doing all these suggestibility tests. None of that changes behavior. None of that changes unconscious beliefs. So I stopped teaching it. And my clients and students get much better results as because of that. All right. So that's so yes, the hypnotherapy is part of the program, but if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then let it go, because you can just think of it as a one belief away method, where you're just one belief away from having a huge, significant breakthrough in your life. So the other question was, why is it so much better than regular hypnotherapy? Well, I've been talking about that. It doesn't teach all the other stuff that you don't really need, that's not really necessary. It's not about entering some magical state of mind. It is about uncovering unconscious beliefs and then giving you resources that you did not have when those limiting beliefs were formed. You imagine going back, giving yourself these new resources. It reframes the situation, which reframes the trauma. And then it gives you a new set of tools and resources that allow you to show up in a way that empowers you and makes you feel safe and strong and worthy and loved and peaceful and accepted and motivated and inspired. And that's awesome, right? That's what we all want. So if you had blocks and suddenly they weren't there anymore, what could you accomplish, right? Anything you want, anything you want. And if your mind has resistance to that, it's because you have beliefs in there that are holding you back, mental weeds that need to be removed so that we can plant some flowers instead. Okay. So the other question that people ask is, what if I'm very religious or spiritual? Does this conflict with Jesus or with my religion? And the answer to that is no, it aligns with it. In fact, it supports it, right? Because I grew up, in kind of a Bible Belt, Midwestern town, right? And as a hypnotist, when everybody around me worked at the mill and I'm sitting here saying, I'm a hypnotist, you can imagine the pushback and the resistance that I would get. However, I always believed that the hypnosis was a tool that God gave us so that we could use the power of our mind to become more loving of ourselves and loving of our neighbors. And that's what Jesus teaches, right? And so it's hard to show up that way if you're riddled with all these trauma beliefs. And so if you have this idea that I'm not good, or you're not good, or I'm not safe, or you can't trust people, or the world is evil, then you're going to show up that way. And no matter how much you try to be a positive thinker. So what I did was people would often say, well, you're just going to let the devil in you. And I would just always laugh and say, well, the devil's already in you. That's why you're doing this. We got to get the devil out. Right? And so everything I teach is about self-love and about personal empowerment and about helping the world and the community and your family and yourself. And so that is what the Bible teaches as well. It's all about love and empowering ourselves. And who do you think that came from? Okay, so yes, it will align with your beliefs. It doesn't conflict in any way. And what happens is we have plenty of human misunderstandings which conflict all the time. But this approach does not. In fact, it really isn't about your spiritual beliefs anyway, unless you have beliefs. Like I've had many clients over the years, because of their experiences with religious people, right? Not maybe religion, but religious people that were very abusive and that hid behind the church. And so people who were sexually abused or verbally abused or shamed publicly or smacked with rulers at their Catholic churches growing up. I mean, all the crazy stuff that people used to get away with. And so those beliefs are, if I take care of myself at all, I'm going to make God mad at me. Can you imagine having a belief like that? that if I put any effort or attention on me, that it's going to make God mad at me, that I'm being prideful and arrogant, that I should put 100% into everybody else and forget about myself, you will not be able to achieve anything good in your life because you'll feel like it's bad and you're making God mad. And that's ridiculous. That's silly, right? What kind of a God would want you to feel bad about yourself just so that they could feel good? Well, there's kind of a a figure like that. I would call it the devil, right? That's not God. And so we want to upgrade those kinds of beliefs, or you'll never have the freedom to release yourself from anxiety or those bad habits, or to grow your business in the way that you most want to. So I hope that this answers the questions for you. I love questions. Questions is a sign of intelligence. Another fearful belief people have is I can't ask questions because I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to look weak. I don't want to look inferior. I always have to look like I'm in control. And that is false. Clarification is power. Asking questions is power. It's the fastest way to get information. It's the fastest way to clear up misunderstandings. And it'll get you where you want to go faster and a whole lot easier. So if you are interested in empowering yourself internally, which I know you are because you're watching this, then go to practiceamplifier.com/power mind, all one word, power mind, all one word. There's a link in the notes. And you can get a free copy of my video course, The Power of Your Unconscious Mind. If you're watching this today on Tuesday, then tomorrow we have our signature 3-day event. This might be the answer to the prayers you've been looking for. If you're a life coach, a therapist, business consultant, a wellness expert, or someone who wants to be in the people helping industry, then we have my signature One Belief Away Practice Amplifier 3-day mastery course. It's incredible. It is the best of marketing so that you know how to get clients, because most people never really teach us that. And there's so much noise on the internet that it's just confusing, on what to do. So we're going to clear that up for you and give you a simple, clear path, and then customize this to your business so you know exactly who to reach and how to get to them and how to get more clients without having to work 1,000,000 hours a week. And it also combines, what makes this program so awesome is I also use the One Belief Away method during all 3 days. So I'm going to be doing group demonstrations and individual demonstrations showing you how you can get rid of your biggest fears, your blocks, your procrastination, your imposter syndrome, right? All that stuff that holds us back. I'm going to show you how to get rid of it, sometimes in 5 minutes, in just 5 minutes. It's pretty amazing, right? Where's my hand? 5. There you go. Okay. And so in just 5 minutes, you can revolutionize your life and your business. And so that is tomorrow. If you want to go to practiceamplifier.com and register, and I will see you there. All right. So leave any questions below in the comments section. If you have any questions or you need personal support and you're in crisis, reach out to our office. You can go to indyhypnosis.com. That's INDY hypnosis.com, and schedule a free consultation. One of our OBA hypnotists will be happy to revolutionize your life. Just remember, you are one belief away from having a huge breakthrough. So I'll see you soon. Always believe in you. I do.